So here we have the complaint filed by Ms. Huth. And so this was filed again in December of 2014. And her complaints, so she has, these are called causes of action, right? So in a complaint, you have different causes of action. And in this complaint, she's saying that there's a sexual battery, and then there's intentional infliction of emotional distress, and then negligent infliction of emotional distress. And she's demanding a jury trial. So, in a civil case, you could have what's called a bench trial, where it would just be a judge, or you can have a civil trial. Naturally, in a case like this, you would definitely want to have this case heard in front of a jury. And so the allegations are as follows. And again, if you haven't already given me a like, if you could do me a favor, hit the like, hit that love, subscribe to the channel, please. I appreciate it. So back in 1974, when plaintiff was only 15 years old, she and a female friend who were 16, they were at Lacey Park in San Marino in LA County. So there was a film that was there was a movie being filmed, and I was looking at some of the articles on this, and apparently it was a film that Cosby was in and Sidney Poitier. So that just tells you how old this situation is. You have a film starring Sidney Poitier. And so this movie's being filmed, and so these two girls walked over and just to see what was going on, and apparently they were approached by Bill Cosby. And so Cosby told them, hey, come over, you can sit in a director's chair, and they started talking to them. So all this at this point is nothing wrong with it, right? So if you went on to a movie set, if a couple kids were walking around, I mean, if it was at a park and Brad Pitt came up to them and I don't know how old Brad Pitt, he's probably in his 50s or what have you. But if he had a couple of little girls or even little boys come over and sit in a director's chair, there's nothing wrong with that. That could be completely innocent. But then they're saying that he invited them to come to his tennis club and meet him there the following Saturday. Now that's where, something, and this is just a complaint. So there's no allegations or there's no information that there were any adults around or anything. So when you have a situation where they're saying that, hey, Cosby had invited these two girls over to a tennis club, now you're talking about actually leaving the situation. So he's making plans with them on a later day and at another location. And so the allegation is that Cosby asked the girls how old they were during this conversation, and they told him that plaintiff was 15 and her friend was 16. Now, again, this is just a complaint. This is a complaint, and these are allegations, but presumably these are the facts that they will eventually testify to. And so I was looking before preparing. I was trying to see if there was any video of the actual opening statement. I wasn't able to find anything. Again, doing my day job as a lawyer, there's only so much time that I had to look into this. But I think that we'll ultimately eventually hear more testimony and see what is being said about this. But hey, in the complaint, they're alleging, hey, we told Cosby we're 15, we're 16. So at this point in 1974, Bill Cosby was around 37 years old. So to just put this in perspective, here Judy Huth is alleging that she was 15, her friend was 16, Cosby's 37, and inviting them to this tennis club. So they ended up going. So on the following Saturday, they met Cosby at the tennis club. And so when they got there, Cosby arrives, he invites them to go into a house, and that's where he served them alcoholic beverages. Now, that's, interesting enough. I don't know what the law was in 1974, but I'm going to venture to guess that you probably could not legally serve, a 15 and 16-year-old alcoholic beverages. Right. So, but nonetheless, that's what they say, that he served him alcoholic beverages and played games of billiards with plaintiffs. So playing pool, whether it's 8-ball, 9-ball, whatever. They're playing pool, and so what they say is that under the terms of Cosby's game, he was required, or the plaintiff was required to consume a beer every time Cosby won a game of billiards. Now, now we've all played these games. Usually it's in college or maybe even in high school. But in high school, I mean, if you're 14, 15, 16, uh, you know, 17, 18 years old, a lot of times it's just, it's other 14 through 18 year olds, right? And so it's not a situation where you have, 37-year-olds playing pool and making bets. So we've all been there. Hey, you take a shot if I sink this ball and I call my pocket, or you got a drink if I win this game. So these are generally just innocent fun games between youths, but this, and again, these just being allegations, and let it be known, Cosby and his team vehemently deny these allegations, but this is what the plaintiff is alleging, right? So they say after the girls have been served multiple alcoholic beverages, Cosby told them that he had a surprise for them and invited them to follow him. So he led them to another house in LA, which turned out to be the Playboy Mansion. So again, you have this 15 and 16-year-old that are now being invited by Bill Cosby to go to the Playboy Mansion, right? And so he told plaintiff and her friend that if any of the Playboy bunnies asked their age, they should say they were 19. So then this goes to show, when we see these type of things where they're establishing, hey, Cosby asked when we met how old we were. We said 15 and 16, and now we have, they've had some drinks. They're going to the Playboy Mansion and they're saying, hey, if anyone asks you here, you say you're 19. Why would you say you're 19? Because if you say that you're 15 or 16, they're probably not going to let you in, right? So that does, on some level in this allegation, they're alleging wrongdoing. They're alleging an attempt to cover up what the facts are in this situation. All right. So moving on, while actually at the Playboy Mansion, plaintiff told Cosby that she needed to use the restroom. So Cosby directs her to a bathroom within a bedroom suite near the game room. And when plaintiff emerged from the bathroom, she found Cosby sitting on the bed. And he asked her to sit beside him. He then proceeded to sexually molest her by attempting to put his hand down her pants and then taking her hand in his hand and performing a sex act on himself without her consent. So they're saying, this traumatic incident at such a tender age has caused psychological damage and mental anguish for plaintiff, that has caused her significant problems throughout her life since the incident. And so I'll tell you now, listen, and I don't know, I haven't heard the testimony, and assuming that this basically is what the plaintiff's attorney would have basically laid out in their opening statement, they then have to prove it through their testimony, or through the witness's testimony. So plaintiff will have to testify, and it's my understanding that one of the friends might have testified. I think I saw an article on that. But the reality is, with sexual assault victims, I mean, let's just say there are victims of sexual assault, right? And the trauma that results from sexual assault is real. So I've heard numerous experts testify on the subject, have had to prepare for sexual assault trials and look at, what are the lasting, or both the immediate and lasting psychological effects, emotional and mental anguish that sexual assault victims go through. And so when they say, hey, listen, this traumatic incident at such a tender age has caused psychological damage and mental anguish, has caused her significant problems throughout her life since the incident. I would imagine they would end up having an expert testify as to what can happen to young women who are sexually assaulted. And that testimony is going to be moving. So you're going to have somebody who comes in with, at least three degrees and all kinds of papers that they've published, and they've been published in this publication for Journal of Psychology, and published here and testified in 500 trials, and they taught at Yale, and they're going to be able to break down what happens to young women who are victims of sexual assault. And so in this next paragraph, they're talking about childhood sexual abuse pursuant to 340.1. I think we looked at that section here. And so that's where they're essentially arguing around the statute of limitations issue. So they're saying, furthermore, the running of the applicable limitations period were equitably told. So equitably told just means that statute of limitations period was stretched out and waived due to the circumstances concerning the conduct. All right. And so then here, where they say, hey, we're just incorporating by reference all the previous allegations, they're saying first cause of action, sexual battery, and then second cause of action, again, intentional infliction of emotional distress, which means that you do actions intentionally to ultimately cause the person emotional distress. And then negligent infliction of emotional distress is where they're alleging there's a legal duty that he had to refrain from engaging in sexual conduct with a minor. And so because he, proceeded to do what he's alleged to have done, just with disregard of her delicate state as a minor, then as a result, then she's suffering damages. And so at the end of the day, when someone is filing a civil lawsuit in this sense, then what they're looking for is monetary damages, right? So that's the only way that we have in our justice system to attempt to make a person whole is by giving them money, right? So you can never undo the harm that has been done, whether that's a sexual assault, whether that's a car accident, whether that's any situation where a person's been wronged. So we just saw that the jury returned that decision in Johnny Depp. I think they awarded him $15 million. So in terms of what's already been done, they can't undo that. But here's this $15 million to compensate you for your losses.